Hi, I'm Linnea Wiles, and today I just want to discuss the topic when it comes to your career. How do you learn how to not care about, like, let's say the outcome of what happens whenever you go on an audition, and let's say you get a call back and you're excited, and you go in there and you bang it out, and you just know you became the part, and then you don't get hired. How do you deal with that? You know, some people, I've spoken to other actors, and they also have this same problem. And I know me, I've definitely experienced this several times in my life, being that I've been doing this business since I was 4. So I don't want to do the math, but basically, it's around 20 years, almost 21 years, that I've been doing this. But obviously, you can tell that I love doing this. Otherwise, I would have quit a long time ago. I've had my yeses, and I definitely would say that I've learned to appreciate those times when I'm set, whenever I get the approval, yes, and I'm hired. But sometimes you can have your times that you want more, of course. It's like, I appreciate this, but let me have more. Let it be more consistent. But it wasn't until I reached a particular time in my life after I did a movie, I was saying, great, I'm one of the leads. Things should catapult from this point. It should go further. And this should be maybe a little easier to get certain roles and maybe on TV or in other films. And I found the exact opposite to be true. I found that it was the roughest spot of my career because I had a manager for several years that freelanced with different agents, and I was young. There's a certain part of you that you're like, oh, okay, I'll just get these auditions this week. I'll have 2 this week, 4 this week. All right, I might have a week that I don't have any auditions, and then it goes back to the regular cycle. Then, when I finished with the movie, I noticed my agent wasn't calling me. She wasn't calling me at all. And then I finally, not my agent, my manager, she wouldn't call me at all for any auditions for weeks. And then I finally got an audition for like a commercial. And of course, I was happy about that. But I was like, okay, what's going on here? I find that I'm getting less attention than I used to. Eventually, I had to move on. I realized I had been with her for a long time and we had a great relationship, but I was older than most of the other people that she was representing. So I did what any other actor would do. I went out networking, I went to seminars, different meetings. I would look for auditions myself to go to. And I mean, I also do submissions, really doing like cold mailings, meaning that you don't really have like a relationship with that person, you haven't really met with them on some kind of one-to-one level, it doesn't really help so much. It probably will end up in the trash bin. So sad to say, but it's true. And some people, they toss it in the trash. Some people, they keep you in a file, break it down. You don't know. That's just the risk and chance you take. But I'm sort of going away from my main point. I don't want this video to go on too long. Finally, there just came a point that I wasn't getting any calls from anyone, even when I did finally start having an agent. And this devastated me. I was like, what's going on here? And there just came a point that I finally got into an accident with my hand that I was going to, right before that moment, I was going to go with my backup plan, which was to stick with post production because I learned how to edit in school. I said, let me just get this consistent job here and work a 9 to question mark because the hours were crazy at this particular edit house that I was working at. And then I moved to another one, which was even worse and had less money there, less revenue. It just seemed like there was no silver lining to the cloud. It felt like the clouds got darker and thicker, and it's like, is there any sun out there? I was saying to myself, all right, let me settle with this. And I got into like a little argument with my mom, but thankfully so. She was like, what about you and your career with acting? Like, what's going to happen with that? I was like, I don't know, I'm going to figure it out. And so we had like this real big argument, and then I had an accident in the kitchen with my hand that glass shattered and it severed my tendon, and I couldn't move my thumb at all. So I was bedridden for a very long time. I had surgery. I had, I still have the scar tissue now. I had, I said a transplant already, I think, right? And I went through therapy. I wasn't able to do any work at all. And guess when I was called to at least be a reader? Right after, the day after, I got surgery. So I was on drugs, painkillers, nice codeine, and wrapped up looking like a mummy. I couldn't do anything. I was like, wow, that's just like life. For something, an opportunity finally to pop up whenever I couldn't even move or do anything. I became very depressed for a while, and I felt like I was in like an abusive relationship with my career, or like I was a fighter who lost every fight, pretty much. And through that whole experience, though, I definitely learned how to appreciate the little things. Like when I have an audition, there are so many people that don't get called at all. So you might be upset that you get called, that you audition, you don't hear a callback, or you audition, you get a callback and aren't hired. But remember the people who don't get called at all. So it wasn't until this year again that I got a really good audition for a TV show, and I said, you know what? I appreciate this audition more than ever. So I'm going to do it big, and I'm going to make sure that I am confident, that I'm focused, that I truly engulf myself in this character, and that's it. The rest is up to, God, higher being, universe, whatever you believe in. And that's so much easier to say at first, sometimes, than it is to do, because deep down in your heart you really want to get the job. So then you say, okay, so I should really be focused on that audition, show the best of me for the callback, do the same, and then forget about it. You can't really do that, especially, at least for me. It's sort of hard to do that for certain things. Obviously, it would be better if there were more auditions, which I plan. Definitely, that'll happen. I know that'll happen someday. I have faith that'll happen again. But of course, that helps, because if you're busy with other things, you're not focused on that one job. That doesn't become so important to you anymore. But I'm rambling. I basically discussed this topic with a couple of other friends on Facebook, and I just thought that they said some really good things that I think other actors would appreciate to hear if they ever find themselves in this kind of situation. They said to me that it's not that you would not want to care, but to be less impacted when it comes to the results. Accept and or assume the failures ahead of time. This way, if it turns out a success, it becomes a surprise and it's valued more as an accomplishment. If you do the opposite, you'll feel let down, obviously. And another friend of mine, Greg, he said, delays create an endurance and perseverance within that further strengthens us. B, he said many people put a greater value on something than it was meant to have in their life. And C, everything happens at an appointed time. Naturally, being in the business for a while, I was like, well, I'm in my 20s. I want to say, hey, the time should be now. But obviously that's not up to me, or it is, in that I could go ahead and do my own projects, which of course I plan to do. But you just say like, wow, I've waited all my life and that time is now. After not being that one so many times, you start wondering, when will you be that chosen one? But I like to keep things on a positive level. I don't want to get all down and everything, but just make sure to make things happen regardless. Learn as many skills as you possibly can and apply them. You come up with good ideas, jot them down immediately. Don't say, oh, well, I don't know. Don't let doubt and fear get in the way of a good idea. You have to build and expand on it. I started writing, and I'm still in the process. I'm not going to give it up. Hey, I'll be on TV someday. I'm going to make it happen. It just would be great if somebody with a little bit of pull realizes or sees the potential or my abilities and says, haha, there we go. Linnea will be perfect for that role. Someday it'll happen. But I would like to send my love and regards to Greg Puga, and to Jacob Cruz. Thank you for your words of advice. I appreciate it, and talk to everyone soon. Any questions, please feel free to ask.